Hey, Jules Blessed Vegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. So yesterday, I indicated that I was going to do the one event from my talk on ones. And my one event was last night. I went to what was called the Toby Mac Hits Deep Tour 2020. And Toby Mac is a Christian singer. And with him were other amazing Christian performers. Their names were Torrin Wells, Jordan Felice, We Are Messengers, which is a band, Ryan Stevenson, Aaron Cole, and Cochran and Company. So it was major. Oh my gosh, 7 different groups. And what was amazing, the tickets were $50, and that's reasonable, right, for a concert. And we were up kind of high above the stage so we could see everything. And of course, they have the Megatron screens. But what was amazing is it started at 7 and it pounded through to 11 o'clock. I mean, there was maybe a 10-minute intermission at best, and they just went for broke. I mean, those people gave it. You got your money's worth. Like, seriously, it was at the Los Angeles Forum. And so it was brave for me because it was a 100-mile drive each way. But I was really glad that I went. And I felt kind of badly because my sister called from the hospital on a live video with my nephew. And of course, I couldn't pick up. And so for 1 second, I was like, oh no, I'm neglecting or whatever. But that's always a problem when there's a major trauma or hospital situation. People don't even breathe, right? And I thought, I am in the middle of 15,000 people who are totally here to give energy and praise the Lord. And I can offer all of this for my nephew. And so I did that. And I just had to trust that process. What's amazing about Toby Mac, if you don't know him, and I wasn't aware of him per se, is that his 21-year-old son OD'd and actually died from the overdose just 3 months ago. And he dared to continue the tour because he just knew that being in the midst of all that prayer and positive energy and God-fearing people was exactly where he needed to be. But wow, we still have Dean. Like, we still have all the potential in the world for Dean, but he lost that son. And it was really interesting because he was saying, my son was a troublemaking fool, but I know that because of God's grace and God indicating that those who believe, right, will be seen again, he could trust the whole process. It was really impressive, seriously impressive. And a couple of those bands had stories of either losing a loved one or dealing with drugs and various things. Christians aren't ever spared. They're just blessed, right? Which just gives us the courage to get through whatever it is. So I never hang out in the thought that I will be spared anything because, oh my gosh, anyone who knows my history knows that that hasn't been true, but that I've had grace through whatever the challenges were. So I was going to continue to talk about the inner critic. And I love this statement right here, which I used as the icon for this video. It says, there will always be someone who can't see your worth. Don't let it be you. Isn't that so true? My gosh, life is hard enough. The last thing we need to do is be our own worst critic. And yet some of us have that tendency, and I am most certainly one of them. So this is another great talk on silencing the inner critic. And this one is by Sarah Seed, S-E-E-D. So this one reads, our inner critic is the inner voice that tells us we aren't good enough, we're failing, we can't do whatever we are trying to do. It's those endless questions we ask ourselves. Why did I say that? I should have done this. Sound familiar? This inner voice will cause negative and overwhelming thoughts, which in turn robs us of our confidence and joy of life. This judge or voice inside mocks and teases us, makes us doubt ourselves and stops us from living our best life. The inner critic leaves us feeling exhausted every day, as fighting a battle continually in our head is incredibly draining. And I so agree. And it's not all the time, but some days that inner critic from the very morning of saying, I don't know, you look old, you're full of wrinkles, look at the sunspots, and like starting just visually and then going into, you're so irresponsible, you can't like, and again, it's not blaming my parents, but it is a very critical parent, and I grew up in a hypercritical environment, which may be good or not, but it was my truth. So it says, we can choose to be dominated by our inner critic or choose to listen to the wise higher self within us, which often has become silenced by the critical judgmental mind. And these are 5 steps to silencing the inner critic. But I'm going to silence my daughter first, so let me go talk to Snowbell. Okay, and as always, I will include this in the description of the video. So number 1, it says first you have to even be aware of when your inner critic is taking control and what it's saying. So you identify that voice that you don't want to listen to, and you become the listener rather than the participant. You challenge yourself to observe situations where the inner critic becomes powerful. You might want to even journal in that situation. For instance, if your inner critic seems to be shouting at you most when you are parenting or at work, learn to observe what is happening when it starts and how it spirals out of control. For me, I know part of my inner critic is when I am not organized. It just starts flipping out of me saying, you're being irresponsible, you're not, getting all the things done, you're shortening opportunities for others, like blah, 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 it just keeps coming. So you learn to observe when, and thoughts are merely thoughts. That's such an important thing. We often forget that, and sometimes we allow our thoughts to completely control our life and dominate and shape our world. It creates pressure and unhappiness. Become aware of your repeated patterns of thoughts and self-criticism. So, it's taking care of your side of the street where you literally just look, evaluate, and decide if it's worthy of actually changing or if you can just let go because it's not true. Number 2, and I'm just kind of scanning through these because I'm hoping you'll take a moment to read it on your own. Choose to acknowledge your inner critic's presence, but don't let it control you. Take control back and gently allow your confident voice to blossom and flourish instead. Replace the negative thoughts and beliefs that you have journalized, if you take the time, with a confident voice using affirmations. This could simply be, today I accept that I always do the best I can. This is all I can ever do. Today I release the need to compare myself to others. I am unique in my own way. I choose to treat myself as I would a small child. I accept that sometimes I will make mistakes. I now give myself permission to make mistakes and develop each day. I choose to treat myself gently, kindly, and with patience. In each moment, I have the opportunity to start again, and these are just some affirmations you can consider. By doing this alone, you begin to take personal responsibility, and this will lead to great freedom, confidence, and happiness. If we judge people, situations, and experiences with unrealistic expectations, maybe blow things out of proportion, dwell on the negative, and assume that we know what others are thinking, our inner critic is the one in control. So, number 3, you choose to see your confident voice as your best friend. This is like changing it up. You can actually say that confident, positive, powerful voice is your best friend, your ally, your victor over any critical thoughts. So some great mantras to say might be, so what? Why not? Does it really matter? This is one of my favorites. Does it really matter if I am blank or not? So as soon as the critic steps in and criticizes you for something, you have to think, does that matter? I mean, is that true? It may be true, but does it matter? Is it going to devastate my world or change any of my reality in a negative way? So it says, begin to listen to your confident inner voice and repeat endlessly your new thoughts and beliefs. This will reprogram your brain. And as I say, reprogramming is often 15 minutes a day for 21 days to even start a new behavior. Step 4, a powerful tool in silencing our inner critic is daily meditation. And again, you might not be comfortable with that. I generally refer to it as prayer. Some people refer to it as thinking, so thinkitation, if you're not comfortable, like if the word meditation freaks you out. It helps us connect the mind and body and unconscious and conscious thoughts. It helps us identify negative thoughts and emotions and work through them and eliminate feelings which are unhelpful to us. Meditation is a powerful tool to inner peace, confidence, and tuning into our higher, wisest, confident voice. There are lots of books on the benefits of meditation, oh my gosh, there's endless gazillion resources for meditation. You can pull it up online or YouTube or anything else. I'll leave that to you. And number 5, visualize the best version of yourself. Even if you don't believe it yet, this is that whole fake it till you make it thing, right? You can imagine what your best thing is. When I think of like a vision board and actually superimposing your face on the body that you want, right? Maybe whether it's muscle or whether it's lean or, losing weight or whatever it is, or feeling comfortable with yourself, how can you actually visualize that best version? Can you be a friend to yourself? From an image of the most wise, confident, self-assured version of you, create this as a collage, scrapbook, like I said, a vision board. Create in your mind an idea of how you will be in your everyday life as you develop and listen to your confident inner voice more and more. What would life look like if you silenced that inner critic? How would you feel? What would you be doing differently? It's a powerful way of silencing the inner critic and turning into your confident, empowered self instead. And this is something more reminder. Close your eyes. Imagine the best version of you possible. That's who you really are. Let go of any part of you that doesn't believe it. It says, by making the choice to silence your inner critic and developing powerful daily strategies, you will find over time your confident inner voice begins to take control more and more. And over time, your inner critic becomes a silent observer, no longer capable of destructive thoughts and feelings. I love the idea of that. And it's certainly something to work towards. Oh, I was going to say something about that. Oh, what I was thinking was for God. I was thinking how God only sees us as our whole, complete, best self. So I love that. I love that a lot. I mean, no wonder he has such faith and patience with us, because he sees the end game all the time. So might we decide to try and believe in what our end game could possibly be? Because I know the inner critic doesn't serve us in any way. But I also know that it's completely true for me. So it's something worth looking at. So, all right, I may continue with this subject. I hope you benefited from some of that. I'd love to know if you know who Toby Mac or any of those performers are. They were dynamos. It's kind of funny because for me, I have a lot of energy in my life, but I prefer quiet religious hymns. I'm more like a John Michael Talbot person than rock and roll Christian, but I didn't mind doing it for a night. All right, like if you like, join us if you haven't, subscribe, and until we talk again, best of all, know that you're blessed.